Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and this is a prediction for the brand new news that came out recently that there is a Game of Thrones sequel show in development. So I'm going to predict who will be on and go over all the likely candidates. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe, and let's begin. So recently, George R. R. Martin confirmed there are 5 to 6 Game of Thrones projects in the works, prequels and sequels. We know 4 of them, and there is likely only one sequel show, leaving two open spots really. But that's for another video. We know the sequel show will not be on Jon Snow, as they mean HBO. It was revealed to be canceled in late 2024, and that's the second time it's been canceled. I don't think it's coming back. This begs the question: who will this show be on? The obvious choices are Bran and all the politics south, Sansa and the politics in the north, or Arya Stark and her travels west of Westeros. And there is actually a surprising amount of evidence to suggest that the sequel show is on Arya Stark. In late 2024, after the Jon Snow show was cancelled again, George R. R. Martin had dinner with Maisie Williams, who played Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, and approached her about something, although Martin declined to say what that was, saying, "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." This likely suggests that Arya Stark could be returning in some kind of project. Arya's show, according to rumors, would be west of Westeros. So yeah, that seems to be the most likely one. However, I do want to go over Bran and Sansa to see how likely it is for them to get sequel shows. Bran is not impossible to get a sequel show, although unlikely, as during the planning phase of the Jon Snow show, there was a discussion that Jon would eventually return south of the wall and go and fight an evil version of Bran. Additionally, Bran going to find Drogon was a thread that was left dangling at the end of Game of Thrones. And additionally, we don't know what happened to the kingdoms like Dorne and the Westerlands following Cersei's death. It doesn't sound impossible that in a Bran show, Bran turns out to be evil and a bad king, causing all the new lords of the six kingdoms to team up against him. However, this show theory falls apart for 2 reasons. One, Bran's actor has semi-retired from acting and very rarely acts, and is more focused on other ventures in life. And 2, the cost would be way too high, considering they had have to get all these actors to return, and House of the Dragon, which has a brand new set of actors, couldn't even get 10 episodes for seasons 2 and upcoming 3. So this leaves one more candidate, Sansa Stark. The final character in the sequel show is Sansa Stark, and her role as Queen of the North. In Season 8, Sansa Stark becomes Queen of the North. However, there are various question marks that could be answered, being who are the new lords of the Dreadfort, whatever castle the Umbers are at, and Bear Island. There's also a question of succession in the North, with Sophie Turner, Sansa's actor, saying she doesn't believe Sansa will have kids. And in addition, Sansa also got really fucked over by the writing in season 8, so there is the potential to go back and change her, give a second chance to her character after season 8 really fucked her over as fans started to turn on her. So, but let's look at some evidence for this theory. And while we don't have evidence, we can look at the schedule of Sophie Turner, Sansa Stark's actress. And Sophie Turner is scheduled to be working on the Tomb Raider show, which starts filming in 2026. So this effectively rules out Sansa Stark, because if there was a Sansa show, Sophie Turner would be signed onto a long-term project. This inevitably leads us with Arya Stark, and Arya is definitely going to be the Game of Thrones sequel show. I mean, all other candidates down south is too expensive. Sophie Turner's schedule is clogged up. This really leaves, since the Jon Snow show is canceled, this really leaves Arya Stark as the only viable candidate to a sequel show, unless we get kind of like a Night's Watch show, but that would make no sense. Yeah, but it has to be Arya Stark the show on. And there's also evidence from George R. R. Martin that suggests this as well. So what can we expect from this show? Now, it's very vague. West of Westeros could be she's going and exploring. She goes and finds a new continent. off the west of Westeros, kind of like how Christopher Columbus found the Americas. Of course, Arya wouldn't go as violent there, but she'd be checking out everything there. Or would it be maybe she sails the world and goes to the other free cities, like, I don't know, Ashai, or wherever Illyria Mopatis is in episode 1, or maybe maybe back to Bravos. But it's very vague, but I'm inclined to believe Arya would find a new continent and go visit everyone there, and and cost wouldn't be an issue. It's a brand new. They'd be filming in brand new places, and the only very high actor you'd have to pay would be Maisie Williams, the actress for Arya Stark. And as for when can we see this come out, I think earliest 2028, considering all the projects from 2026 to 2028 are announced, and the only confirmed show in 2028 is House of the Dragon, the final season. And we could see the Arya Stark show in 2028, but far more likely 2029, and maybe probably even beyond that, as there's an Aegon's Conquest show which has already had script writings and a screenwriter for it. So yeah, if I had to take a guess, Aegon's Conquest season 1 would debut in 2028. So I think 2029 is far more likely to happen. And yeah, but as for the ending of the Arya Stark show, I should touch on this. I do believe if they were to give Arya Stark a sequel show, they would inevitably have her return to Westeros someday and go and visit her family, like Sansa Stark or Bran. I do think maybe that she would return to Westeros at one point just to check up and see how all is going. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. But until next time, bye!